Nearly 5 years later from when it was first released, the Tamron 20-75 version 1 is still the best bang for your buck lens for Sony Full Frame. Whether you shoot video, photo, or both, and whether you use it for client work, YouTube, travel, or all of the above, it is the best deal of any lens, and here are 4 reasons why. A mid-range zoom is the most versatile lens that you can buy because it allows you to shoot both wide angles and tight angles. The wider shots for those establishers and also to show the entirety of the action, and the tighter shots to get more detail and emotions or just to really emphasize that background blur. And when you have a zoom that has a constant aperture, it makes it even more versatile. The Tamron has a constant aperture of 2.8, which means it does well in low light, and it also allows you to get more background separation in your shots throughout the entire zoom range. If you're shooting photos, this means that you're not only going to be able to get those wide shots like for group photos, family photos, action shots, or lifestyle photos, but you're also going to be able to get those tighter angles like for portraits, headshots, or product photography. If you've already been considering getting a mid-range zoom with a low constant aperture, then you probably already looked at the Sigma Art 24-70 and both versions of the Sony GMaster 24-70. All 3 of those are awesome lenses, but they're also more expensive than the Tamron. The Sigma is $1,100 new, the version 1 of the GMaster is $1,700 new, and the version 2 of the GMaster is $2,300 new. The Tamron 20-75 can only be bought used now, and I know that a lot of people are hesitant to buy used lenses, but I've had the Tamron for over 4 years now, and it's by far my most used lens. I've used it in winter time in Chicago in 0-degree weather and also in the humid and warm climate of Hawaii, and it's held up with 0 issues so far. I would be confident buying this lens used, assuming that there's no significant damage to it, and on places like OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, and eBay, you can usually get it between $500 and $600, and I've even seen it as low as $450 on OfferUp. And you just can't beat that value. Now I know you might be wondering about the version 2 of the Tamron, which you could buy new for $900, and I'll share my thoughts on whether I think it's worth buying that at the end of the video. The autofocus on this lens is the best of any lens that I've ever used. It's not only extremely fast, but it's accurate and it has little to no focus breathing, even when you're shooting wide open at 2.8. As you're seeing in some of these raw clips, I was using autofocus, and it's like the camera and lens are reading my mind. Even though all the newer Sony cameras have amazing autofocus, the lens still plays a big part in the reliability, the speed, and the smoothness. And I have used the Sigma 24-70 before, and in my experience, it was a little bit slower and less reliable than my Tamron. It could have just been that copy, but I've heard similar results on different product reviews and comparisons. The GMaster version 1 is known for having copies that have back focusing problems. And even though they fixed that in the version 2, again, that lens is $2,300 new, so it should have good autofocus. One of the hardest tests for autofocus is shooting in low light and in strongly backlit situations. And whether I'm shooting video or photo, the Tamron has been extremely fast and accurate, and I know that I can trust it. I don't have any data or ways to measure sharpness or any of the other factors that come with image quality, but all I can say is that I've been really happy with the look and quality I'm getting with both video and photo when I'm shooting with this lens. And just as important, my clients have been happy with the quality of work that I put out when I'm shooting with this lens. I can't compare the image quality to the competitors, but I doubt that there's much of a difference. When you're shooting video, you're not going to really see a significant jump in quality until you get into cinema lenses, because all the lenses we've talked about so far are technically photo lenses. And when it comes to photo, everything looks really sharp and detailed, and I don't think that most people will see a difference between the Tamron, the Sigma, or the GMaster. The build is where you can start to point out some obvious cons of this lens. It's all plastic and much cheaper feeling than the Sigma and the GMaster lenses. And the rubber grip on the zoom ring and the focus ring are definitely not the best. It also doesn't look as premium or aesthetically pleasing as the other lenses, and that can matter especially in the professional setting. But other than that, the build quality of this lens has not affected the reliability or the performance. And like I've mentioned before, I've used this lens in a lot of extreme conditions, and it's my most used lens over the last 4 years. On the flip side, the lighter and smaller build can be seen as a positive. It makes it easier to use on a gimbal, and it also makes it a lot more portable, which is really important when it comes to travel or when you're trying to look more low profile when shooting in public. It's also weather sealed, and I can confirm this because I've had ocean water splash on it. And even though the water and sand clogged up some of the dials on my A7S III, the lens seems to be unaffected. These 4 factors make this an amazing buy for any Sony user, whether you consider it your starter lens or if you're going to use it professionally for years to come. Now, this lens isn't without its disadvantages. We already talked about the cheaper build quality and how that could be a deal breaker for some. But another deal breaker could be the actual range of this lens. When you compare 28mm to 24mm, there's actually a pretty significant difference. But on the longer end, when you compare 75 to 70, there isn't as much of a difference. Based on what you shoot and how you shoot, that extra 4mm on the wider end could be very valuable to you. But if you have other wider angle lenses, this won't be a problem for you. In my case, I have the Zeiss 16-35 f4, and that covers everything that I would need any wide angle shots for. The zoom range of the 28 to 75 has really been the perfect fit for me. It's the perfect B-roll lens, and it's the perfect lens for the B-cam when I'm shooting video interviews and talking head. And it's the perfect one and done lens for photography because of the zoom range and the lower aperture. But is it worth it to buy the version 2 of the Tamron? After all, it's a little bit sharper, it has a closer focus distance, even more reliable and faster autofocus, and a better build. If you can find a used version 1 Tamron for under $550, I believe it's a no-brainer to buy that lens, and then you can use the extra $300 that you save for a prime lens or something else. If you're in the mindset of getting the newest and best version, I would still get the version 2 of the Tamron over the Sigma if 28mm is wide enough for you. And if money is no object to you, I would go with the absolute best, the coolest looking lens, the version 2 of the GMaster 24-70. But for me, I'm gonna stick with the king of value, old reliable, the Tamron 28-75. If you guys wanna know about the other lenses that I love and use, click on this playlist right here. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.